I'm here, I'm here. What are you dancing to? Oh, I can't hear you. You're on mute.
I didn't even notice I was. That song Gloria from the olden days.
Oh, that is a good one.
Yeah, because I have a scrapbooking mix on right now.
Oh, that's fun. That's a good one
Because
for scrapbooking.
when I go to, um, I host a week-long crafting retreat.
Yeah,
And so I'm always looking for new playlists. So I kind of listen to them throughout the day. And if it's something I like, I keep it in mind and use it when we're there. And I get all the ladies to, I have a sign-up sheet that
hmm
I put all their names in and say, okay, if you want to listen to music, your own
yeah,
music as well as everyone else's that you may not like,
right.
you might want to get on this sheet and get your music on there for half a day.
That's cute.
Mhm.
That's really good idea.
Yeah, I try to keep all of their ideas in mind and accommodate every person as much as possible.
You're good. When did you say that was? The retreat?
May. It's May of every
Okay.
year.
Oh, okay. I thought you said you had one coming up soon.
I do. That's not one that
Oh,
I'm doing. That's one that I don't
gotcha.
have to host, which is amazing. And that comes up next weekend.
Oh, okay. That's what yeah.
So it's during because after today, I have time off.
Yeah. Yay.
I know. Rita, how are you?
I am much better than last session. I almost said last month, guys. So better.
Good.
Thanks.
Yay.
But all right, you're not 100% yourself though.
I do feel better today. Really,
Good.
really better. At my first mentoring session with Cheryl. So
Oh, how'd
I'll
that
be
go?
licking my wins in the corner for a while.
Bless. Bless.
So I've put on my bathrobe and I'm feeling the power.
Got a cup of tea. I'm just gonna eat biscuits over here.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
That's funny.
Uh,
Yeah, she's hard, but she is on point.
yeah, you
I
need
don't
that.
I don't find her
Right.
hard.
No, I
And
mean she.
Christine, everybody's not as good as you, honey. I told you, you're going to fly through this thing.
I no,
No,
it's
she's not.
definitely not it. I just think that I'm this person who, when I get feedback, I just don't care about the good feedback because that does not help me grow at all. I mean, I suppose it makes me feel good, but I don't really care about feeling good or feeling comfortable. I care about knowing where I'm sucking so that I can just get better at it. So if someone's really hard on me, I'm just very, oh, awesome, thank you. I don't really think about it.
Well, that is a strength that not a lot of people have. Now, she's not hard as a person, but she is great at like really nitpicking. So pulling out these
Mm,
details that you think like, oh, I'm good at that. I'm good at that. And it's like, yeah, you might be okay or good, but she's like going to push you to great. Like, okay, but no,
yeah,
here's the great way to do it.
definitely
Um,
yes.
yes, but that's what makes her
Yes.
awesome.
I just met with so yesterday for my company, well, the
Mm-hmm.
company I work with, I do all the discovery calls that come in. And it was so
Oh,
interesting.
yeah.
Yesterday, this lady came in. I had to do a discovery call, and she's a coach. And it was so interesting because I have to look everyone up before I do this discovery call. And before I, I met her, well, talked to her, I looked her up, and I felt so inferior
Mm,
immediately. It's like, oh my gosh, she's been on the radio and in papers, and oh my gosh, like, from a coaching aspect, I felt
mhm,
inferior to this woman. And then we get on the call, and it was incredible because she was
mhm.
so much like me and in exactly the same spot. And she was asking me, well, how do you do this and how do you do that? And I was like, well, I mean, you can do a website, but I would probably go
Mhm.
this different route if I was you. She's like, oh, I'm so glad I connected. You're so knowledgeable. And I'm just sitting there going, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. But I think she's going to take Cheryl's course, this
Oh,
course.
awesome.
So yeah,
Great.
because I
Good
told her, I
job.
said, well, I said, you might want to look into this because this is the reason
Yeah.
I'm in this course. It's really phenomenal and it gives you this and this and this. And she's like, oh my goodness, that'd be so amazing. So I think she's going to get into this course. But I also noticed that I had that afterwards, I realized I had that comparison and it
Mhm,
was really not serving me. And she did the same thing with
mm,
me, and it wasn't serving her. And both of us were really upfront about it and talked with each
yeah.
other about it and learned from each other that we both had some great strengths. So now we're going to team up together to support each other in the future. And she's probably not going to go with our company to get a website done. But, anyways, long story short, we may have someone else coming into the class, and it's because
Awesome.
Cheryl's so freaking amazing, and you guys are.
Well,
Mm.
yeah, tell Cheryl that she might be coming.
I know my best friend's in her other class,
Oh, who's your best friend?
Bonnie Ayotte.
Did she just start the Monday, Wednesday?
Yes, she
Yeah,
did. And
okay.
her and I, we were best friends in high school like 40 years ago.
That's amazing.
And we talk every single day, like we're really close
Oh,
to each other. And so she's
yeah.
a psychologist, and she's like, she knew what I was a coach. And she's like,
Hmm.
well, maybe I should get into coaching. I says, if you are, you should probably get into this
Hmm.
program. I think I should be getting some great discount.
Yeah, you should. I know, that's why I'm like, so I start, I think second week of October, I start coming into the Monday, Wednesday cohort classes.
Oh, so you'll get to
So
meet
like,
Bonnie.
yeah, so Lori and I kind of flip flop, like front end, back end kind of. Yeah. And then of
Yeah.
course,
Yeah,
like
we'll see how
Cheryl,
that
once
goes
she's
because
a,
Bonnie she's a psychologist.
yeah,
So it's been a really hard transition for her to
yeah,
go from
yes,
this fixing mindset to
right.
the other. Just this morning, she's like, I think I'm finally getting it. Yay. You know?
It is really hard for therapists and psychologists because, yeah, it does go against, and like during the pandemic, there were a lot of psychologists and therapists and social worker kind of like that came in and took courses. And that was the hardest thing. But once they got they were phenomenal at it. And then
Yeah.
basically they could then take it into their regular psychology therapist session and then utilize it,
Which
for the
she's
greater.
not going to. She's actually
Okay.
doing it the other way. She's primary coach and bringing a bit of the other in.
Oh, cool.
She's going to switch it right up. But anyways, let's continue on our day here. I'm just going to get some tea while you guys are doing your thing. Sorry, I didn't.
Carry on our day while she
Yeah,
gets
well,
tea.
I have to say it does make sense, you know.
Mhm.
'Cause I also started off with my training in psychology and
Oh, that's right.
counseling, you know,
Yeah,
and I never actually realized that that could be one of the reasons. Oh,
that's a
okay.
struggle sometimes.
Mm, yeah. Well, I
Mm.
had an interesting call with the mommy today, and she was like, "Well, can you coach my 12-year-old?"
Oh, yeah.
I said to her, "Listen, okay, so if we really look at the definition of coaching, it is basically the client comes in, gives
Hmm.
the agenda. Okay, that's very
Yeah.
nice. There we go. Um, gives the agenda, and
Hmm.
you flow. And I said
Yeah.
to her, I don't think a 12-year-old is coachable. But
Yeah.
let's think about this. Don't you maybe need parent coaching? What about if I coach you how to coach your child? Because you, with your
Oh, cool.
child, your child doesn't need me, your child needs you.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that makes sense. So, yeah, I've got a new sign up
That's
for my
good.
parenting course
Mhm.
at least today.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but I really felt also, I was worried, how do you say to a mommy, I
Mhm.
don't think I could coach a 12-year-old. I don't feel it's the responsible route to take.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I'm glad the conclusion that we made, that is rather bring her in for parent coaching and,
Yeah.
empower her.
No, I think that's great. I think, yeah, there's some awesome parenting tools you can make for that
Mm.
class.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did the positive discipline for, for parents,
Hmm.
for teenagers, and then also for teachers. So I've done
Okay.
that course. I'm with the Positive Discipline Association. I'm a
Yeah.
educator for them as well. And I've noticed, I think that is also why coaching sometimes feels a bit, shouldn't I help fix this problem?
Great. Well, here in Charleston, South Carolina, I don't know if you guys have seen, there's a hurricane that just hit Florida.
Oh dear.
It was Cat 4, and then it slowed down to a 2, and I'm not sure is like as soon as it hit land did it become a 2 or right before. I'm hoping it was right before. I haven't seen the update yet, but then it's like going up into Georgia, and because it's so like extreme, it's not going to slow down for a long time. So it's just going to be the wind, like halfway up, like up to Atlanta, which is pretty far up. It's coming in the panhandle of Florida, which is,
Sure.
yeah. Anyway, so then we're getting tons of rain. We're getting the tropical storms from it. So it's going to be rainy, rainy. I don't think I'll lose power or anything today, but wait, tomorrow it's going to be over 65-mile-an-hour winds. So, okay. I'm
Wow.
thankful. I'd rather have a tropical storm than a hurricane.
Mm.
Yeah.
I
So,
think I'm just gonna stay right here
yeah.
in my little zone that doesn't get those and be grateful for none, because I wouldn't want any of that. Any of
But you
it.
get tornadoes. We don't really get tornadoes.
I've never seen a tornado in my entire life.
Never?
Never. Not once. We get
I need
no
to move to
tornadoes in
Canada.
Saskatchewan. They always keep
No
saying,
hurricanes. Too
Tornado
cold.
warning, tornado warning.
Oh,
And we get, those alert systems.
yeah.
Never seen a tornado once, not one time. We always get
Wow.
alerts that never actually mean anything. I've never seen in the entire province or anywhere in Canada ever
Wow.
any type of severe weather other
Weather.
than it's minus
No.
35, minus 40, and you're going
Yeah.
to die. Your eyes are
Die.
freezing shut, and there is like 12 feet of snow in the backyard.
Mhm.
That's the only severe weather I've ever seen in my life in Canada.
Yeah.
I'm sure
That's
somewhere
crazy.
there must have been a tornado, but
Right.
I've never
Not
seen
like,
it. And I don't know anyone who's ever seen a tornado.
wow.
So
What do you all get down in South Africa? You guys call them cyclones down there?
It's very random. So the other day, the past, just everybody says snow, but it's springtime now. And
Yeah, it's
they
still
gave the
snow.
warning, snow is coming. Nobody adhered to the warning, so a couple of trucks drove off the mountain, like crazy stuff like that, and
Idiots.
everybody's like, "What? Oh, somebody should help me!" I'm like, "No, we gave you a warning."
Yeah.
We had tornadoes. Showing my niece, their house was blown away at some point.
Oh.
Then, like today, it's this gusts of wind and it's
Mm,
dead dry.
mm,
So it just always feels like that. Oh, it's so dry,
yeah.
everything is just like biltong.
Hmm.
Um, I think our weather patterns are very severely disturbed in South Africa. But I mean,
Hmm.
like we were without power for the whole day.
Oh,
We're not quite sure why. And then there was 4 veld fires all randomly
yeah.
around us. and it's this gusts of wind and it's dry. So everything is
Oh,
just burning to the ground.
burning.
Yeah, and we don't have something like a fire brigade or anything, so the farmers really have to do it for themselves.
Oh,
And so it's
wow.
dangerous and you worry. And
Yeah.
last week somebody tried to steal power and he electrocuted himself completely. And the whole community is like, oh, the poor guy. I'm like, no, he's an idiot. I'm going to be
Oh,
without electricity for 3 days because he decided he needs to steal power. No,
Oh
no
my
sympathy,
gosh.
people. He got what he deserved, idiot. Really?
No, he was robbing.
Yes. So, yeah, a couple of months ago, it was a child, though.
Oh,
Because in our culture, everybody has to be sad about everything.
oh,
So when the child lost her life, our power was turned off for 3 days for respect for the family. I'm like, okay, so the mom and the dad was irresponsible. They are hot wiring so the whole town
oh,
for 3 days need to mourn her death, so nobody could do business. When do we get to the point where we take the mom and dad and take them to
yeah,
jail for neglect?
yes.
right.
That's, yeah. And child abuse and killing a child. I mean, that's second degree murder, I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm so obsessed with these people. Nobody takes accountability for anything in this country.
So sorry to keep going down this path, but what makes them, like, can they not afford electricity? Is that why they're hot wiring or why they're trying to steal electricity?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. I think they can't afford it. And
Mhm.
remember, our informal settlements really works like, okay, I need a place to live. And
Yeah.
then you guys must remember, I live in Africa a very long time. So
Yeah.
what they then do is they will probably steal, um, not zinc, what do you call that? Metal plates, um, that you
Just be
build shacks with, that you put on the roof, but it's this
the
wavy
tin. Yeah.
tin,
The
Oh,
tin.
tin
corrugated
roof.
metal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, corrugated. So probably what they do because they don't have money, they take somebody else's roof off their house. And then literally, if you want to live here,
Yeah.
you take that tin and you shack up. That's what we call it. So you put your shack
Mm.
up right here, right now.
Yeah.
If you're clever, you do it next to the electricity pole. Because then you just hotwire the electricity pole and you have electricity and you don't have to pay for it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah.
And then when the municipality does decide to take off all the illegal connections, you
Yeah.
burn down the municipality, literally burn it down. That's what happened.
Oh,
Yes.
Wow.
every country has their stuff.
Yeah, the Rainbow Nation is a beautiful place.
Well, with that in mind, why don't we talk about client growth? Let's help people grow.
There you go.
Is that a good transition? Help to make this world a better place if we can.
If we go.
I know it's just sad. Like there's, how do I say it? I mean, there's real poverty, and then there's people that just use the systems in a sense, like, instead of doing some things to maybe help themselves not be so poor because they have the ability, they just settle next to electricity poles and steal electricity, right? And then there's some people that literally don't have the skills and are, can't move up in the world, sadly. And so then they settle next to electricity pole. And it's just, I hate it for all of it. But I hate the people that take advantage of the stuff and make it worse for those that genuinely need the help.
Yes. Now, I think something that we are really deeply ingrained in the Black cultures is
Yeah.
typically if you move into an area in the old days, so you're in King Shaka or King
Hmm.
Zulu, you're in their area, so there's kind of tax that you pay to the king.
Hmm.
Um, so in their culture, the corruption and the stealing
Hmm.
is really acceptable.
Yeah.
They don't get upset if the president does curtain revamps for 10.4 million rand.
Mm.
I'm like, well, he's president. Isn't he supposed to do that? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Really? For a presidential suite, let's go for 300,000. So, and that I think is very sad, is that
Yeah.
they don't comprehend the 10.4 million for every single corrupt action in our country. It
Hmm.
takes away from education, it takes away from hospitals, it takes away from the state.
Yeah.
Um, it's really sad. Really sad.
Yeah. It is. Okay. Did you guys get chapter 11 downloaded or pulled up?
It's in front of me printed.
Perfect. So we're going to talk about facilitating client growth. So supporting them in their growth. So this is going to be like the goal setting and overcoming obstacles with our clients. So, there's a few different ways we can go about helping our clients reach their goals to the best of their ability. And so I think, did somebody say something? No, can you say somebody say like,
Oh,
hi?
something.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Say literally something. That was weird. The one AirPod just died. I put it back in. Um, so it just depends on the client and what they need, right, to help them achieve some of their goals. So one is just goal setting. So helping them establish what we call SMART goals, right? So they're specific, they're measurable, they're achievable. I think that's huge. They're achievable, back to like baby steps. They are relevant. And sometimes, when we're on our own attempting goals, we can kind of go off and think that we need to do something, but it's really not like fully relevant. So as coaches, we can speak into that, like, is that, relevant, and help them with that. And then is there time parameters on it, right? So we always want our clients, when they're setting action plans for the week or for the whole 3 months that we're working with them or whatnot, we want them to establish time specific, time measured goals, right? Because just stating a time and putting a time next to a goal, hold yourself accountable in such a different way. Because if by tomorrow you're supposed to, have printed off 30, what are you guys doing, witches this year? Like, printed out 30 witches, fronts and backs, and you haven't, well, you're going to be motivated tonight and tomorrow to get that going. And maybe you don't get it done till Saturday. But had you not put a time limit on it, you might not get it done till the end of next week. Right. So it just really helps people, stay on track. So we might really need to, it says, expanding here with the goal setting, help them really adhere to a SMART, the SMART acronym framework of goal setting, right? Now, some people don't need that at all, but some might really need that. And every time they're kind of developing an action plan, we kind of need to remind them, or maybe remind them parts of it that they might struggle with. then, like, to support our clients, sometimes they don't fully understand their strengths and their weaknesses. And this can come in any form of niche that we take on, right? You can see where it would be really relevant in career, right? If you're like a career coach and you're helping people like identify where they work the best and, jobs they should pursue. But also, like, if they're in a job and they want to, say, advance to a leadership role, well, helping them figure out, do they have the leadership skills? If they do, let's grow them. If they don't, how else can we look at leadership? So sometimes we need to help clients understand how they're just built, how they're hardwired. And so we can do that through assessments, depending on what niche we're in and what our client needs to know, right? So career paths, but then, thinking about, there's so many assessments out there. There's Strength Finders, there's Myers-Briggs, there's DISC. Even if like you're a relationship coach or you're helping parents, I think, studying love languages, the 5 love languages, is really huge. So that the parents know how the kids receive love and how the kids give love, right? Like that's going to greatly enhance a parent-child relationship. I remember my dad worked for a publishing company, and so he would go around and, help teachers and stuff work on their own strengths and teaching them. This was way back in the like 80s when this was all really new. And so talking to them about different learning styles and how we all learn differently. And so how could teachers start putting that into their classrooms to try to reach, the most kids. So very early on, like my dad had us taking this test to figure out our personalities. And then it's just to this day, we'll, make jokes like, well, yep, mom's the analytical one, of course, like here she goes. But we really know, like the 4 of us, I have a brother, like we all really know each other. And then when love languages came out, we also did that as a family. And that was huge. Like it's really huge. Like when I'm home visiting my parents, and I'm like, oh, I'll do this and to show my mom love. And then I'm like, I could do that all day long. I really just need to wash her dishes and she'll feel like a million, like I love her a million times a million. But instead I'm over here like buying her a new shirt. She could care less about a new shirt. So I think love languages, and they have books out on kids' love languages and how that can change as we get older. I haven't done a lot of study into the kids' versions, but yeah. So there's just a lot of different ways to help our clients explore themselves on a different level if they've never done that, and if that is relevant to helping them grow. If that's going to help them grow, then we need to figure out what assessments are out there that we can give our clients to help them. And this is why, one of the simple things that I just do when I take on a client, when I'm sending them contracts and all that fun stuff, I do send a list of like 50 values. And I ask them just to come to the first session with, having chose like 5 values or doing their top 10, whatever like they can figure out. Because that's not something we do a lot. We do it maybe at work, but not specifically for our personal selves or not for our family units, right? And so like, as I've just keep saying, like we need to know our values to know what we align with so that we're making decisions that align with our values. That way we're going to feel aligned with ourselves and our lives. We're not going to feel stuck. Because when we're stuck, we're usually not aligning with something. So you got to know what you're not aligning with, right, to do that. And then another way we can help our clients in growth is helping them figure out resources. So of course, like I was saying on Tuesday, like, are there people in their lives that they can, go to? But what about like social support networks, right? There's so many groups out there now on social media that we can join and help one another. I think it's really fabulous. There's, professional development opportunities. There's networking options as far as like physically going and networking, or networking on social media. There's a lot of free classes that our communities give and do, at least in the United States. And I'm sure every place has stuff that they offer that we just might not be aware of, right? And so I think as a good coach, as we can and hear about things available for free or at a low cost that might help our clients and our niche, that we should be keeping track of that. And then if a client, we have a client and they have a need, that, they go and explore, obviously, but then I think we explore as well, and come to the table with stuff, so that we know what's available, not just what, the client has found. And as the clients find things, take notes of that as well. But, if they're starting a new business, then, they're going to need, financial advisors, and there might be cheap or courses that someone can take with a financial advisor or financial group that might offer financial advice to someone starting a business, right? And then, of course, they're going to use that to have the client become their client, which is fine if that's what the client wants to do, but it's a resource that's available, and free, and just different workshops that are available, especially like at community colleges and stuff. I think there's a lot of available courses that aren't super expensive and sometimes are free for people. The other one is we can help our clients just develop their own skills. Again, so like books, courses, workshops, things like that. I'm just thinking here, about Christina's crafting, someone who just needs, whose life is overrun and they need space and they need to decompress. There's some people that would love to go to a crafting weekend and I just lost the word I said, decompress themselves. Thank you. Decompress themselves by doing crafts, things like that, that, maybe we don't identify with, but other people do. I do identify it. I would love a fun crafting weekend. But, some people need to try new things. So again, how can they strengthen their skills? What do they need to strengthen, right? Again, they just might need to figure out what needs to be strengthened, and then they're able to go about figuring out the steps to strengthen that. And then the fifth thing is helping our clients have a reflective practice. Oh, thanks, honey. So helping our clients really start a regular reflection of, what's their goal. And so reflecting back on the time, as they're achieving these goals and moving closer to the finish line, but also just a reflective practice in their whole life, in all the areas of their life. That's what I mean. Because if they're learning reflectiveness and to look back and to appreciate and to celebrate and to be grateful for things in this area of their life, and then they can bring it to another area of their life, like if it's just becomes a part of their everyday, that's going to strengthen them, right? When we focus on the positive, when we focus on what we've overcome in a good way, when we are so celebrate, it would be a better way to say it. When we celebrate baby steps, all of those things, it just helps us continue. It gives us that motivation that we need, that intrinsic motivation to keep moving forward at whatever pace they're moving forward at, right? There's no wrong pace. We all have our own pace going about it. Any comments, questions, or things that popped into mind for you as we're just sitting here talking about how to help our clients grow? Oh, you're on mute, love.
I'm really seriously confused. Okay. I have to say, Holly, I never thought actually about the skill development makes sense. But something like reflection and even just goal setting. Actually interesting to think that is part of client growth.
Yeah. And I think like goal setting might be something that people think they're really good at, but when push comes to shove, they're really maybe not, right? Because maybe they're not doing relevant things. So that's why they're not achieving it, right? Or they're not doing achievable things, or they're not, so then they're setting themselves up for failure, or they're not doing relevant things. So then they're not going to hit that pace, that place, where they want to go. Or just the tiny thing of like putting a time on it, like I think people set out wanting to accomplish something and then they find themselves not accomplishing it. And it's not because they couldn't have, it's just they didn't, add in that layer of accountability. And that is something we really gift our clients that they don't realize, right? This is another like secret thing that makes us great as coaches is we're teaching our clients accountability. And it can be accountability to self, and it can be accountability to people in their, sphere of influence, right? Because sometimes you don't need someone else to hold you accountable, but sometimes you really do. And so just teaching that little thing, like, ooh, that's huge for a lot of people that have never done that, right? And they have the people, they just have never done it. Or I just think it's always, I haven't seen it in my own clients, but I've seen it happen in classes a lot where students are like, well, I don't know who can hold me accountable. So then it's showing you like, wow, this person isn't really aware of their like sphere of influence, like who are the close people in their life. Usually that just means they need to identify them and think through, who do I want in that close circle that I let in, right? And then there's the really rare times where like you truly might not have those people. So wow, we've got to like really go back to square one and kind of figure out how do we get people into our lives. And I haven't experienced someone who hasn't had anybody at all in coaching, but I've had people in my life who were very alone and weren't getting places because they weren't letting people in. Okay. So overcoming obstacles and then building in officially that accountability. So back when we were talking about fears and talking about how something might not be a fear for us at all, like we might be going, how is that a fear? But it's a fear for that person, whether we understand it or not. It's a fear for them. Same with obstacles. Okay, sometimes fears you're going to see. Sometimes someone might throw an obstacle out and you're like, how is that really an obstacle? But it is truly an obstacle for them. And it's not about us, right? So it's helping them explore these obstacles and overcoming them, and time and money are they're always going to be obstacles. Okay. And if they don't have the finances, then it's just might take them longer to achieve something. right? Or if they don't have as much time as the other person, it just might take some really strategic planning and take them a little bit longer. But we never want our clients to not go after something that they desire in their life because they say, I don't have enough money or I don't have the time. Well, I believe if that's really on their heart to achieve, it's there for a reason. And so it's worth, going after. So one thing we can do with our clients is just do some obstacle mapping and brainstorming, having them figure out what are the potential barriers that are might stop you from achieving your goals, right? This is something that you could do up front with the client, even talk through, kind of get a list, get them thinking about it and thinking about how to overcome it so that it's easier to address when it pops up in sessions. Or, you just do it in the session. And then just like we were talking about on Tuesday, having people think back to previous times in their lives when they were successful, how can they translate that? So, asking the client, can you think of ways you successfully navigated a similar challenge in the past? So they might think they can't overcome something or do it, but then we get them to start thinking about, oh, but in the past, I did navigate this. And wow, there are a lot of skills from that that I can bring over right now into this situation. And then again, we were talking about this on Tuesday, just the reframing of the perspective for our clients. So helping them reframe challenges as opportunities, and then shifting the focus from a limitation to potential, right? So I don't have a challenge, I have an opportunity. I'm not limited, I just have a new area of potential. So, asking the client, how could you view this challenge as an opportunity for growth? Another beautiful way to ask that question, if you're in a more emotional kind of session with the client, is how could you view this challenge as a blessing? And then what strengths do you possess that you can turn this obstacle into an advantage? Or how might someone you admire approach the challenge differently? So getting outside of their own head, stepping into someone else's shoes, and thinking about it. And then we really, we are here to hold our clients accountable. We don't want to be their main one because, again, we want to be teaching them skills that they can use for the rest of their life. But they are paying us to be their coaches. Therefore, we want to make sure that we are checking in with them. And so whether that is checking in for how successful were you in these goals that you set from the last time that we met, right? But also checking in, how do you feel things are going just in this overall coaching setting? Like, how do you feel as far as achieving things or not achieving things, or, are the right things being addressed? Are there other things you feel like you need to address? Checking in with them. And, what specific indicators should we be looking for to make sure you are staying on track? And how can we address new challenges that are surfacing for you? And so by having that open dialogue when we're checking in, not just, did you get your homework done like a teacher or like a parent, but really genuinely checking in, like, are we on track? How can I help you more? What does that need to look like? That again is just reinforcing that place of safety, that place of trust. And they can come to us and talk about things, and we're willing to hear it. We want to hear it. We truly want to help them. And then asking our clients, what personal accountability practices will ensure that you stay committed to your action plan? Or is there someone in your network who can serve as a supportive accountability partner for you? Or what structures can you put in place to maintain momentum between our sessions? And I think that's a great question for people that necessarily maybe don't want to go to someone else, or it's not necessarily what they're looking to achieve. Doesn't necessarily, accountability with someone else might be a little bizarre. So it needs to be within internally. So what are they going to do? How can they maintain, that momentum? So we just really want our clients to be critically thinking about how to move forward on this path that they're on. How can they approach things in a new light, in a different light, approaching things as opportunities, approaching things as blessings, approaching things as, what was the other one? Potential. That was the word I was trying to think of. As potential is really going to help our clients. How have you guys been doing when you've been doing your sessions, as far as like asking one another about accountability? Have you been
We haven't
hitting
been
that
doing
one?
sessions.
We've been doing them in class, yeah.
Yeah, we just haven't been doing them, but
Oh,
sorry.
did you hear back from Cheryl about hours?
No, I forgot to ask her.
Yeah.
Oh, I
And I was
also
going to
forgot.
ask her today
Mhm.
because I find Tuesdays and Thursdays are by far my busiest days. They're the only days clients can book with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I have class. So I'm actually going to, while we're here, quickly ask her right now.
Yeah, I was pulling this up. How many hours do they need for?
Are you just asking her?
Yeah, how many hours do they need for? You were asking for out of class sessions, right?
I've asked
Yeah.
that question. I've asked that question.
What'd you say, Rita?
I'm on mute again.
No,
Can
you're
you guys
not.
hear me? Oh,
Yes.
okay. Oh, so what I did ask her is for recorded PCC sessions.
Yeah.
So I asked her because this morning I just hopped onto YouTube, put in ICF PCC recordings, and we've
Okay.
got a couple. So yeah, I sent that to Christine. So we've got one answer to all the questions.
Okay. Okay. I just sent those to her on Telegram. Okay, so let's look at this last section here about just the emotional intelligence and how does this play into our clients' growth. So since we're learning this, and this is one of the really unique things about this course that I really like, that we're learning emotional intelligence, we're learning it about ourselves, that we are then hopefully in turn teaching it to our clients. So helping them just with emotional literacy. So we want them to be able to identify and articulate their emotions. We want them to understand what they're actually feeling so that they can properly manage them. So it talks about the wheel here, and I am on, let's see, hold on. Oh, that's my marriage license. Okay, let me share. So I just pulled this up quick on a Google search. You could just print it out. But I know that like you can get big posters of it on Etsy and all these things. But it starts with our basic emotions of fear, anger, disgust, sad, happy, surprised, bad. and then it breaks them out from there. So the example that's in the class here is if, or under point 1 here, is if a client is feeling sad, have them like look at a chart and go, okay, what specifically, like let's narrow down this sadness, because sadness encompasses a fairly bigger range of emotions, right? Are they feeling lonely? Are they feeling vulnerable? Are they feeling despair? Is it guilt? Are they depressed? Or are they hurt? Right? So you can see there's a big difference in identifying sadness versus those 6 other emotions. And if you can pinpoint one of those 6 emotions instead of just a generic sadness, the way they're going to be able to handle this and go about solving seems like the right word, finding the answers that they need to become happier or not as lonely or not as in much, despair or whatever it is going to be more helpful. So I think this is a great thing. I think this is a great thing to use with kids. I think this is a great thing to use in any like marriage, any like tight relationship. I've seen this many times, but the therapist that John and I see for premarital counseling, she has a pillow, like this big round pillow with the chart on it. And I'm always just like, this is awesome. I really want to get a pillow so I can. Let me see. I think this is packed up, but I think it's in the box right here. It is. This is one book that I am taking with me for the next year. Let me stop sharing this. So Brene Brown, and she has this book out called The Atlas of the Heart. And have you guys heard of Brene Brown? Yeah. Christine? I would imagine
Sorry,
so.
I'm just trying to give me 1 second here.
Yeah.
That I just screenshotted what you had up there.
Yeah. Do you need it again?
No, I just had to, it wasn't pasting properly.
Oh.
So I just wanted to make sure that I had that in the future. Okay, good. It's done now. Thank you. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're great. So she does vulnerability studies, or that's how it started. She speaks on vulnerability, and does all these big not exams, tests, experiments with people, whatever. I can't think of the right word. And one of them, so for this book, was what emotions can we, as just people in general, this pool of people that they had, what emotions can they properly identify in themselves? And it was 3 to 5. The average person can only really identify
Wow.
3 to 5 emotions. Doesn't mean they can't name emotions, but as far as like that feeling like I'm sad, okay, well, is that loneliness or is that guilt? Not being able to discern that difference, right? Or so fearful, if they're feeling fearful, here are the ones within fearfulness could be scared, you could be anxious, insecure, feeling weak, feeling rejected, or feeling threatened. We don't want to feel threatened. So again, big difference between someone saying I'm fearful versus I feel rejected, or I just feel really anxious right now. And the questions you would ask somebody versus if they are feeling rejected versus feeling anxious are going to be a lot different, right? I mean, ultimately, we want to find out where these emotions are coming from for them, like in a deeper sense, but how they're going to play out and work out. So same concept. She has 10 chapters here, and she breaks it down by, hold on, I had it, I lost it. She breaks it down by, so fear. So she's got stress, overwhelm, anxiety, worry, avoidance. So she goes even deeper and pulls out some of the bigger outer circle emotions. Or then like awe, wonder, confusion, curiosity, interest, and surprise. Like that's a chapter. So you can see that she takes these different emotions that were not great at identifying or explaining and really speaks to them. And so I
What
think
book
this is
this again? Sorry.
it is, yeah, Atlas of the Heart.
Okay.
It's a red cover with a heart on it, but it's a really pretty heart. And the heart says, this is brilliant. We are the map makers and the travelers. The hearts.
By something Brown.
Yeah, Brene.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, no. So you can find her on TED Talk. What like really gave her light was she was asked, someone got canceled, she was called on quickly, and they asked her to speak on vulnerability because that's her, line of study. And so she did a 20-minute TED Talk on vulnerability. If you haven't heard it, it is a brilliant TED Talk, like brilliant TED Talk. So she's got plenty more now, since then, but just her original vulnerability, I think, really speaks volumes about who she is and what she's trying to help society unpack when it comes to emotions and expressing them better as a society. So obviously we can think about people and how great this is, but like Rita, you could see this mother having this chart, maybe a more simplified version, maybe not so much like the outer ring. And
Oh, I can't hear you.
can you hear me now? Hear me now? Hear me now?
Yes.
My back. Stupid. Connect to my phone. But you can see how if we're teaching children at a young age to really express themselves, not just I'm sad or I'm happy, but I'm anxious or I'm excited. Or I think one that's really interesting, I didn't read on here. Let me reshare it. Is bad, the green one here. So under bad, it could really be bored, busy, stressed, or tired. And then we move into indifference, apathy, pressured, rushed, overwhelmed, out of control, sleepy, or unfocused. I mean, there's really big differences there, but you can see how they all funnel down to that same thing. So having a 6-year-old say, I just feel bad today, mommy, but then they're able to say, mommy, I just feel really bored today. I feel really tired today. Huge difference in how you're going to help your child, right? And even when it comes to happy and surprise, like these good emotions. So this leads me to feel like hold on. Before I do this, Cheryl, back. Cheryl said that she would figure out the hours and let them know. And she will add recordings to the playlist and then let you guys know which ones are for you guys to listen to.
Yay, thank you.
Yay. Okay.
So excited.
Why won't it let me heart this? Okay, well, why don't we just say cheers?
You're the best, Cheryl.
Um,
Yeah, so I just quickly dropped in the chat.
oh, look at this.
What?
Yeah, that's the feeling faces I
You
encourage our
use.
parents to start using with the kids.
I love
Yeah.
that. Oh, that's good. This is perfect for kids.
You
Mm.
know, it's funny, when my son was little, both my husband and I come from very abusive and dysfunctional families. They're literally the same family, shockingly enough. I don't even know how we ended up being the only one out of each family who ever moved past
Mm-hmm.
all of that. And so we had a chart like this for our son on
Oh.
the fridge his entire life. And so it started out with just like, a few faces when he was really
Mm-hmm.
little. And then it grew and grew and grew until we got to a wheel like this. It wasn't this
Mm-hmm.
extensive. It didn't have like the
Yeah.
outside one. And then, it's really amazing the significant difference when people can verbalize how they feel. It leads them to be able to recognize easier
Yeah.
internally how they feel, like through
Mm-hmm.
practicing that on a dime, which allows them to communicate easier and not
Yeah.
have a whole bunch of feelings of self frustration.
Yeah. That's
I
awesome.
I have found that because my son can, on a dime,
Mm-hmm.
I feel angry, I feel frustrated, I feel
Mm-hmm.
disappointed in myself
Yeah.
or something around me or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And he's always been able to do that from quite a young age. And it's really helped
Mm-hmm.
him, like in his position in the military and wherever
Oh
he's going
yeah.
in life. And I just think that that one, Rita, I particularly love. It's really amazing. The faces are,
I
I'm,
do.
how do I keep this? Go away from me. Sorry.
No, we're staying by your side.
Oh, I just keep getting all these notifications and I don't know
Oh,
why, and it drives me crazy. Anyways, I'm just printing that. Thank you.
import from my
Gotcha.
How do I
iPhone.
save it? Oh,
Trying to. So, um, I moved to Austria when I was 23, so a year out of college. I had been doing youth work in the church and then went with a nonprofit overseas to help youth workers in Europe. I came back in my mid 30s and at that point then I was living in Ireland and then moved back. Um, and I went through an emotional breakdown. It was not emotionally healthy for 2 years. The breakdown was probably 9 months to the year. And then that second year was getting healthy and figuring out who Holly is now. Right. And I think I told this a little bit to you guys the first time when I was teaching you guys about how I had to come to accept that I'm American, Austrian, and Irish. And that's who I am. I am not just American. And I'm clearly not just Irish at all or Austrian, but they completely play into who I am as a woman today. So, in all of this living overseas by myself, even though I was with a nonprofit and there were other expatriates who lived in these countries with my nonprofit, and I met with them monthly and I had some friendships, they weren't friendships that they're not necessarily people you would choose, right? Like you don't choose your work colleagues. And so sometimes you become friends with a work colleague, but not always. But when you live in another country and there's like 10 of you, if you want a friend from your own country, you kind of got to like pick, right? Or you don't pick. So that kind of complicates things. And so then the level of what you share and you don't share as a single, for me, just got bigger and bigger and bigger. What I expected from myself got bigger and bigger as far as unrealistic, absolutely unrealistic, Holly. Nobody expects that of you, Holly, kind of way, right? Because I don't have anybody to bounce this stuff off of. So what happened though, I'm moving countries, I'm meeting people, I'm going through these huge life changes, right? They say like, don't get married, don't move, don't change careers. If you lose somebody in life, get divorced. If one of these things happens to you in life, do not do one of the other four in the first years after it happens. Well, I'm moving countries, learning another language. I've said goodbye to my family and my life in the States, right? So doing all these things. So obviously it was very anxious, right? And a lot of anxiety. The more anxiety I had, the more cortisol, the more fight or flight that I was in. And what ended up happening by the time I came back to the States, like 12, 13 years later, I was just living in fight. I mean, I was just constantly fight and flight. Like I was cortisol, anxiety was an absolute horrible thing for me. I mean, obviously, right? It caused me to completely not be able to function. But I remember like in that second year, meeting with my therapist, and we were talking about anxiety and something that was going on or whatever. And she said, well, is that really a bad anxiety, Holly? And I was like, no, I guess I'm just really excited. I'm like so excited. I have all these butterflies, and that just makes me feel anxious. And so then having this session and really like eye-opening conversation for me in my late 30s about how there's good anxiety and there's bad anxiety. I had just only really ever experienced and could clearly identify bad anxiety. So anytime I felt a hint of good anxiety, I just quickly classified it as bad anxiety. So seeing something like this and having had, if I would have had something like this, would it have stopped what happened? No, but it would have helped me. It probably would have helped me speak better to other people, understand myself a little bit more. I mean, I'm pretty intuitive and self-aware. So I think it sometimes sometimes with the anxiety, I might have been able to say, no, Holly, you're really just excited. This is a good thing. This isn't a bad thing. So, I think that's why it's so important that we help people fully understand emotions and what they mean. Because when we can't identify, especially just the basics, is this a good thing or a bad thing? Then we can go down totally different roads that we really don't need to go down, for lack of a better term. So I think it's awesome, Rita, that you have this. I love, Christine, that your son was raised like this. I'm sure Rita's children do this every day as well. You said enough about your family, Rita, that I'm like, could you just write a book on how your family operates? Because I've just heard really cool things. I'm like, I love that. So yeah, you should just write a book.
Manual.
Yeah. So other like thoughts or insights or things you guys have done when it comes to helping clients understand some of their emotions?
Yeah, on the anxiety thing, something that's serving my daughter really well. She enjoys high performance activities, very competitive. And she was in primary school, and she said once to me, I'm stressing so much. And I said to her, hold on. So your butterflies arrived and said, oh, can't wait for this race. And you telling them,
Mm.
oh, I'm scared of you. This is stress.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, and that really challenged me also to think in terms of when you feel that cortisol. And what I
Hmm.
realized is when that is picking up, your
Hmm.
body is actually saying to you, I can recognize that this is important to you. So I'm
Hmm.
going to serve you by giving you the adrenaline, by giving you the cortisol,
Yeah.
and we are just reframing it and saying, oh, I'm stressing so much, I'm going to stop, eat, and vomit all day, you
Mm.
know. Um,
Yeah.
and I do agree with you. I think in a society where, well, in South Africa, definitely we're in a phase where everybody is diagnosed with anxiety at the moment,
Hmm.
our teenagers. And I
Yeah.
think that should be one of the conversations that should be sparked more often. What would
Yeah.
happen if we really reframe the word anxiety into just
Hmm.
acknowledging this is really important to you, and I'm bringing you
Hmm.
all the tools you need.
Yeah. Yeah. No, same thing in the States. And it's not that
Uh,
it's not true. I just think emotions are coming more to the surface because of the pandemic and things, and they don't know how to fully identify them. Yeah. Is that agreeing, Christine, or not?
I think we have social media
Mm.
that people can identify with, and they can
Yeah.
identify with this person and this person, and this person happens to maybe their level of emotional maturity isn't quite where it could be.
Yeah.
And, I just think that maybe not everyone has anxiety. I think maybe
Yeah.
people just have a lack of knowledge of their feelings. And I think one other thing, so I've never used it in my coaching and I'm kind of deciding how to work it out. But one thing that I talk about a lot outside of coaching, and I see a lot of people who are afraid of their emotions.
Yeah.
And so they don't acknowledge them and they never grow.
Hmm.
And so what I tend to share with people a lot is that really our emotions are nothing more than signposts.
Mm.
And
Like
imagine
that.
yourself, you're going down the road and here's number one sign and here's number two,
Hmm.
and you can ignore it and you can ignore it and you can ignore it. And one day you can
Yeah.
fall off the cliff and
Mm.
that's up to you. But really they're just signposts that help us to guide us of which path we need to take that's right for us in our lives. And if we ignore those emotions, we may end up on a path that doesn't serve us
Mm.
and doesn't take us to the end goal of where we want to go. I've never used that analogy, and it's a crappy analogy. I usually say it better, but I don't use that in coaching simply because it's beyond leading, right? Um,
Yeah.
but I'd like to find a way for people to understand that emotions are a really great thing. And if we acknowledge and we just sit down and we feel them and we say, okay, what is this teaching me about myself
Hmm.
and my
Yeah.
values? And,
Hmm.
that's going to let me know what path I need to take. I
Yeah.
don't think we have enough of that.
And I think like you speaking to like it's leading and I can't really use it. Things that you can do with man, my brain. I have like 35 things going on. That's my own fault. I should have cleared my brain a little bit more.
Uh,
Um tools like this that you have. Sorry. Tools like this that we have that we feel like, oh, I can't just really like bring this into a session because it's totally leading and the ICF is going to hear me and they're, they're going to rain bombs down on my house. I think the ways that you could use it is you ask, would it be okay if I shared something with you? And I would do it more at the end of the session, unless a client is totally stuck and you're like, okay, they need some, like, they need the emotional wheel, they need the face wheel, something like, then I think
Yeah.
you need to do that. But you know, if you have something that you know is going to help them, just say, would it be okay if I gave you a little bit of homework? And then sending them these tools, these
Mm-hmm.
pictures, these whatever you've written and have that you know is going to help someone, that you give it to them. Now, then they can choose to use it, not use it, do it, not do it. But now they've said yes. Now you've sent it to them, which means you can ask them about it in your next session. And maybe they're like, yeah, I thought that was really interesting, Christine. Thank you. And that's kind of the end of it. But then 3 sessions later, they're like, I felt so overwhelmed today and I just couldn't figure it out. Where was it coming from? And I pulled out that wheel that you gave me of emotions, and I discovered that truly I'm just feeling this. Right. So we never know when tools are going to best serve our clients. But I truly believe if you have something that will help a client, that we need to give it to them. And to do it according to the ICF, appropriately and non-leading, is just to ask, would it be okay if I shared something with you? Would it be okay if I gave you some homework? Do not do either of those things on your recorded calls for the ICF, okay? They are completely allowable. Just don't do them on your recordings. Let's just get sticky. But I think, you know, as coaches and really serving our clients well is giving them those tools, and then they have those tools to do with as they choose. And like I said, sometimes they might not use them right away, but down the road they will, or they'll
Yeah.
use them right away and it'll be really helpful.
Um, and I think too, where I will use it is um in the next month here, I'm developing a program.
Mm, awesome. Yeah.
So that's where I can use a lot of these tools in a formal
Mhm.
program where I'm
Yeah.
not actually coaching. And then when I
Mhm.
do coach, then, you know, those tools, they'll be bringing them up in our coaching
Right.
session, but I will not be bringing them up in the coaching sessions. So I thought that's
Yeah,
how
that's
I could get
awesome.
away with using some of these tools that
Yeah.
have aided me in the past,
Mhm.
you know?
Exactly. And especially like if you have a group program and someone says, oh, I don't want to do it in a group, I want to just do it one-on-one with you, and they're willing to pay the extra money, then yeah, like you're just giving it out as homework every time. That's what they're asking for.
Mm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's the way you can use these things where you're like, how do I not teach this? That's how you teach it. That's how you get it in their hands. Okay. Well, how we feel about a break?
Please.
Let's take a break. Let's come back at 25 to the hour, so 15 minutes,
Okay.
and then go into coaching. Okay.
Okay.
I'll see you guys in a bit. No, Rita's sitting outside in the grass now.
Hey, I'm a
That's
grasshopper. Here we go.
that's
Look at
interesting
me.
since it's winter and nighttime there, but you know, you do you.
Well, my
Okay,
other
so
option was a bit flamboyant. I thought to myself, I'll show you later just now, but I thought the screen's a bit too much.
so we got Rita coaching today with Christine. So let's just say it's 20 to the hour, so it's easy.
Okay.
So to give you till 10 after the hour. But again, if you need more time to really wrap it up and put a nice bow on it and complete a session so you feel like you've completed it and the client and Christine feels like she's gotten all of it, then by all means, like we have the time. So take that, utilize that. Okay. So I'm going to leave you ladies to it. I'll see you back in a little bit.
Hi, Christine.
Hey,
How you feeling?
emotional.
Okay.
I am feeling emotional. It's a good emotional. It's all good, actually. I just, I don't know. I feel really grateful sometimes, and right now is one of them because my husband was texting me about a course I was thinking of taking, but it was a lot of money. And then I said, you know what? I actually don't even need to take it. I'm really smart and I can course correct and I can just figure it out. It's no big deal. And he was just like, well, whatever you want, I just support you and I believe in you. And then I just felt like, "Ah," I literally just saw the message. So it's a good emotional, but emotional.
Do you need to get rid of anything? Do you need anything before we get into the coaching session?
No, no, I feel pretty good.
Okay. What's our topic for today?
Oh, it's a hard one for me, for multiple reasons, but reduction of electronics in my life.
Okay. And knowing you, you know exactly how you want to measure this.
How I want to measure my success today.
hmm
I will have a plan set forth because I mean, while we're talking, I'll be writing and figuring things out because I always do. Um, but yeah, I want to have a plan of action. Well, no, maybe I don't. I don't know if a reduction in electronics is reasonable, first of all. So I guess I want to determine A, if it's reasonable, and if it is, I want the first step I can take.
Okay. How are we going to measure the reasonability?
Um, I don't know really if I need to. I think I'm a highly objective person. Um, okay, so this is kind of where it comes down to. I've abused electronics, and according to my psychologist, that's not a bad thing. But that was many months ago. And I don't feel like I'm in the same place anymore. I feel like I've grown. So I don't know if I even need to be doing that anymore. And the fact that I'm talking with about this suggests that I probably don't, you know? So I guess I just need to kind of work through, first of all, probably quite rapidly. Do I really need to do that? If it turns out that I felt like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm really in touch with myself. So I really just don't think I require it. I think it's become habitual now. It's no longer an actual requirement. See, according to her, it was for, what's the word she uses? Um, like gapping out, like spacing out. I don't know the exact word, but that's what she says is it filled that need at the time. But I feel now it's a hindrance. So okay, so there, that's the measurability is how do I feel about this? And just, I guess I can just say it's bought. Okay, I don't feel good about it anymore. I don't feel happy with it. I feel like it's holding me back and no longer filling a valid need. It's just not productive in my life anymore. And I've been feeling that for a while. And I think, well, why did I not act on that if I was feeling with that? Well, because I was feeling unsure, I guess, of, well, do I still need to be doing this? And I didn't have a really good sense of what decision I should make based upon my feelings. But as I'm talking with you, I do. And I just don't feel like it serves me anymore. I've outgrown it, thank goodness, and I just don't want to do it anymore. So there we go. I just need to make a plan of action for this session.
Okay, great. So the first thing has already been completed.
I guess, yeah. Yeah, it has. Because it's just not good for me.
So let's get clear together. You need a plan of action to reduce electronics. Is it in your life or is it in the family
It's just for me.
for you? Okay.
Yeah, just in my own life. Um, yeah, I can't. Yeah, just for me.
So what will change for you if you achieve this?
My level of productivity will greatly increase, and in turn, how I feel about myself as an individual, meeting the goals that I want to meet in my own life. I will have more time for myself. I won't feel as stretched. You know, say if I wake up in the morning and I don't wake up to an alarm at all, ever. Um, and I wake up in the morning and I leisurely, look at my phone and then I'll like play around watching videos and all this stuff. Well, I can lose myself in that. It'll be like 2 hours later when I finally get out of bed. I could have done so much in that 2 hours. And there was a time where I needed that 2 hours to do that, but I don't anymore. My life has changed and in amazing ways. And so I don't know, I'm just wasting my time and I don't like it. I don't like that feeling of all of a sudden looking at the clock and going, oh my gosh. And then I keep saying to myself, I could have done this and this and this and this and this in that 2 hours, and what a waste of time. And I find I'm quite negative about myself. And I don't want to feel that way. So I will feel more positive about myself. I'll feel more positive about what I get done. I will have more time for my business, which is really where my passion lies. And I think I'll be able to meet meet my own values more. So I don't value any of the things that I'm doing right now to fill that. And back when it was a legitimate required need to just mentally escape from the challenges that were going on that were too much for me to deal with, well, I didn't feel that. I didn't feel like I was wasting my time. I didn't feel like I was berating myself or disappointed in myself or any of the feelings I'm feeling right now. So that tells me absolutely too, I don't need to be doing this anymore. It's now a habitual thing. It's morphed into a habitual thing that's no longer serving me. So that's what's going to change for me, like all those things. And most importantly, the way I feel about myself.
So, what do you need to address so that we make sure you achieve this?
What do you mean?
To rephrase, for us to address reducing electronics in your life, what do we need to change?
What do I need to change? Um, well, I need to change where my phone sits on my nightstand. So I can't just reach over and grab it in the morning I need to change the habits that have started. Um, mhm. And what are those habits if I think about them? It's grabbing my phone in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it is having my phone sitting right beside me all day. I don't need it there. Or no, it's not having it sitting there. It's checking it every time it rings or there's a notification or something like that. If I go even a little deeper than that, it's making the whatever's happening on that phone via a ring or whatever more important than what I'm doing at that moment in time. I need to decrease the importance of outside things and increase the importance of what I'm currently doing. And I think it's hard too because of my son. I have it set so at 9 p.m., my phone goes on silent mode, except for my son. If my son phones me or texts me or WhatsApp me, he uses WhatsApp when he's on the ship and he can't use anything else. I get that. And I'll literally wake up at 3 in the morning and I'll have a conversation with him or whatever it takes. And I find that's one thing that has also been a contributing factor to me. My phone will make a noise and I'm on it right now. And and I say often, like, my husband, we'll be in the middle of having a conversation. And my phone, I hear the ding and it's like, hold on, that might be Tristan. No, it's not. Okay. I can put my phone down. I'm okay with that. But I always have to check if it's him. And I need to look at, maybe it's as simple as just checking if it's him, and if it's not, just putting it down. But that I'm still always giving it too much of my energy. And why do I do that with him? I don't know, maybe because he's on a warship and I'm scared he's gonna frickin' die one day. You know, I mean, one night it was 3 o'clock in the morning and I woke up and we were texting, and he was in the middle of a typhoon on a ship in the middle of the ocean. And I was petrified for him. And he's like, "Oh, you don't have to worry, Mom. These things they'll never, they'll never sink." And I'm like, "Yeah, the Titanic wasn't supposed to sink either, right? But it did." And I guess I just realized right now I have so much fear over losing him. And it's always been there his whole life. Like, it's not just because he's on a warship, it's just always been there. Losing him is my greatest fear that I have. So I don't really know what to do about that, actually. I don't know how to not check my phone all the time, thinking it might be him. You know, like he sent me a WhatsApp message recently here. It was yesterday, and it was at 6:10 p.m. and it was a picture of him in all of his firefighting gear because he's the head of the team. And I just, I don't know, I just wait always to hear from him. And maybe that's not healthy either, that maybe I'm too extreme with that, where it's okay to not have to check my phone every second because he messages. Maybe I need to address that fear and not. And then I always have this fear, though. I'm not living in what is, I'm living in what is, if, because I was just going to say, what if I don't answer my phone and he's saying, "We're about to get bombed and I love you," and I never get to hear that and he dies.
I hear you. I feel you.
And then I think, well, what if that happens? He dies. Well, really, he dies knowing his mom loved him with everything in her. He knows that. There's no doubt ever. It's impossible for him not to know that. I mean, he tells me all the time, "Mom, I get it. I get it," you know? So I guess I just need to not, maybe I need a coaching session around that at some point, to not live with that fear that he won't know, because he will know. He does know. So maybe I just need to focus on not taking my phone anywhere with me. Just leave it sit in the room and only go to it if I need it for something. And because he doesn't sit there and go, oh, my mom messaged me. Holy cow, is that my mom? Is that my mom? He doesn't do that. Right? And I don't need to be doing that. And that's really the main reason why I'm so stuck to this damn phone. And I suppose I don't need to be doing that. It's okay.
May I interject here for a moment?
Yes.
I would like to invite you into a different perspective. The perspective I want you to consider is we know what your desire is with your son, but the people right next to you, face to face with you, like your husband, how do you think the friend that you're drinking coffee with at the moment or your husband is there? I can see you're emotional. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about what you're saying and the message I'm sending to those people that I'm right there with. And I've thought of that. And I guess everyone is just so understanding of the fact that he's gone, and it's so hard on me that he's gone that I've allowed that to, you know, not show them the value that they need to be, especially my husband. We can literally be talking and I'll just be like, is that Tristan? The phone rings and I'll be like, oh, that's Tristan. And I mean, my husband and I are both talking to him, but you're right. I need to be, I'm not living my life. I'm not living my life. And at all, actually. So, and it's all out of fear because I don't have any fear about him. He's capable. And, whenever he says to me, he's like, oh, mom, I won't be able to phone you. I'm like, don't you worry about it, son. You go live your life. You live your dreams and don't you worry about it. Go on vacation there. Don't worry about coming home. I'm like really supportive of you just live your life to the fullest. But that question really helped me realize while I'm so supportive of him living his life to the fullest, I'm not doing that. So I need to do that. Wow. Yeah, that's what I need to do. So my phone doesn't have to sit here anymore. So funny. I don't know if you can see this. I have these phone stands everywhere in my house.
Ah,
Everywhere. Every room has one. I don't really need them. And I'm okay if, and it's not just Tristan though, but I guess now that I think about it, that's the real reason my phone's always with me. But then there's also the mindless stuff on TikTok or So I don't need to grab my phone in the morning. I don't need to do it at night before bed. I need to read a book because I love to do that, and it's taking up space for things that I would like to be doing, like diamond painting or crafting or hanging out with Joe or so I need to get rid of my phone in the morning from beside me and in the evening. And I need to leave it somewhere else. Um, I don't know where really. Maybe in my kitchen. During the day. And only take it out if I need it, not if someone else needs something from me. And that would solve it. And if I feel like, because if I feel like I need that time again to just gap out, as my lady says, my psychologist, I think I'm at the point where I need to deal with that. I need to gap out on something more productive than electronics. I can gap out listening because in the mornings I listening to Cheryl's podcast. I can listen to Cheryl's podcast. Basically, according to her, the only purpose is that I'm not thinking about anything. Information's just going into my head, you know? So I can do that I can listen to music. I can, diamond paint while I watch a movie, but it's not on my phone. Really, the problem is my phone. It's not anything else. So because I don't worry about getting up to an alarm, my phone doesn't need to be in the room at night. And or in the morning then. So it can just live in the kitchen. It's a central location. Uh, but then there's my husband. I feel bad about that. Maybe, I don't know. Every morning, my husband messages me from work to tell me something that he admires about me or loves about me or something he's grateful for regarding me or something like that. But I don't need to respond immediately. And every day on his way home from work, he tells me, I'm leaving work now. I'll see you soon. So I like to respond to that message. But you know what? I know when it's pretty much going to come. And there's nothing wrong with me grabbing my phone at 3 o'clock and having it beside me from 3 till 4 till, when my day's basically done. And he always messages me before I wake up in the morning. So I don't really I still don't need it with me all day. And I still don't need it with me in the evening. So I'm going to keep it in the kitchen from now on and only go to it if I need it.
Addiction is a big thing. Definitely. So, what is a couple experiment you think you can do to break this addiction?
I don't think it is addiction.
I bet, sorry.
I think it is. It's been a tool that's been used I would call it more of a dependency at this point, I think. I've never been addicted to anything in my life, so I'm very fortunate about that.
Okay.
So sorry, what was your question?
How, what is the things you can experiment with to reduce your dependency?
Well, I don't think I need to experiment with anything. I think I just need to decide this doesn't work for me. This is why it doesn't work for me, and this is what I'm going to do to no longer do this anymore.
Okay, so the action plans I heard is phone is in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Okay. I heard I'm going to listen to music,
Hmm.
podcast,
Read at night.
read at night. What book are you reading?
None. That's the problem. But I do have a book right now called The Spare that I want to read about Prince Harry. And I also have to read that's not what I'm going to read. I have to read the entire Harry Potter series. So I'm going to read that.
Okay.
And that'll make me feel good because my son is a Harry Potter fanatic and I bought him that series like 6 years ago or something like that. And he's probably read it 5 or 6 times and he's this pro at all things Harry Potter. And he always wanted me to read it so that I could understand in depth and have better conversations with him about it. So I might be a little late on that, but at least I'll say I did it. Um, anyways, and then we'll have a marathon when he comes home on it. But I'll read that and then I'll get myself a different book. So, um, and you know what I just realized? My phone is linked to my computer. So I just got a notification from one of my clients via my computer. So I've just removed that. So I
Well
won't,
done.
so I will no longer get those notifications from my computer. Um, so yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave the phone in the kitchen. And then when I feel like I need to grab my phone, or when I catch myself wanting to grab my phone, that's when I can sit there and say, okay, what can I be filling my time with instead of this? What do I want to do right now? If I stop and think, what would feed my soul, make me happy, bring me joy? That's what I'm going to do, whatever it happens to be at that moment in time.
Okay. What could be barriers?
Um, I think the main barrier would be me using it at night and then just like habitually, because like say if I'm here working, right? And it's in another room, then I'm not going to get up and go get it, right? But if I happen to be using it already for something and then I just keep using it, that's going to be the problem. So outside of work hours, which would be in the morning or at night. So that could be a problem. Um, yeah, I think it'll be helpful if I talk with my husband and let him know what I'm doing. Um, and apologize to him for probably not showing him the value that I should have been this time, and show or let him know how grateful I am for his patience. And maybe get him to just remind me, hey, remember you said you wanted to read. That's something you said you wanted to do if I need that.
So accountability, am I correct if I'm assuming that your husband is your accountability partner on this one?
Yeah, he would be my accountability partner on pretty much everything in my entire life for the most part. So yeah, he would be the person who I'll talk with him about it, and he'll remind me, and he'll help me out with it if I'm struggling. And he'll like text me during the day, and he'll say something along the lines of, I'll be so glad that you're not going to get this till you get home, but when you do get this, I'm proud, or, like you won't get it till you check your phone, but when you do, I'm so proud of you for not checking your phone today. Or he'll make it really positive, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to summarize and review today for you. So you came in really feeling that you want to reduce your use of electronics in your life. You actually traveled really quickly in deciding that you are reasonable and you felt it really doesn't serve a purpose anymore. Then I heard a lot of your values being evaluated and moving up and down and deciding of the how valuable what is to you. What I do commend you is that you really got to the bottom of the fear of losing your son. Then just making the plan for dependency to reduce it a little bit. So the places where you feel there's, there's the barriers is early in the morning and then late in the evening or later in your day. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds accurate.
What did you discover about yourself today?
I wouldn't say I discovered anything. I would say I was reminded that I have a pretty good sense of my emotions and what they're telling me. And sometimes I lose sight of that. And it's good to be reminded of that.
And what is a possible celebration for the session today?
That I realized how much my fear of losing my son is holding me back in my life. And I was able to acknowledge it and take steps to stop living that way. It's and to me, that's profound because that fear is very deep in me. It's a really significant feeling. But once I was able to uncover that that was actually happening, I was able to just say, you know what, it's okay. I can't live by what what if. And so, yeah, I'm pretty proud of that.
I need you to look at me. I'm celebrating you. So open invite. If you feel I can serve you in any way, looking further into the sphere, you're really more than welcome. We can touch.
Thank
So
you.
how would you like to close today's session?
Just say thanks.
Any feedback you want to give me?
Well, just, I don't know, just thanks for just giving me the space to just, because sometimes I find it's helpful for me to just talk and work stuff out, and other times I need aid to work stuff out. And thanks for just giving me the space to do what I needed and to just come in when I needed and help me sort some things out.
My honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good session, ladies. How are you feeling, Rita, about the session? As far as strengths, weaknesses?
What I've noticed is that I'm very comfortable with emotions. I'm very comfortable to take people on a journey.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that is the counselor in me. Really feel sometimes so disrespectful when you push for the agenda. But what
I
are we
know.
gonna do?
I know. I know.
Sometimes we just have to exist. We don't always have to do.
I know. But they're paying us to do. That's the only way you can help yourself in this. Okay. They are paying you to do.
Right. I'm gonna put this on a banner on my computer.
Yeah.
They're paying me to do. Yes. So
But I hear you.
yeah. I mean, working with a client so self-aware,
Mm-hmm.
it just flows and feels and responds.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful to watch.
Yeah.
I felt a tinge of curiosity
Mm-hmm.
about the psychologist said that gapping or
Mm-hmm.
spacing out is a good thing. And I thought to myself, but it doesn't serve me to know. She knows, she's up with
Yeah.
it. She's
Right.
so
Yeah.
that has nothing to do with me.
Mm-hmm.
So that I felt today was a thing that I could acknowledge to say, I
Yeah.
don't have to understand that.
Mm-hmm.
What serves her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think she did get the plan
Mm-hmm.
that she required. I'll really have to work a little bit on my closing. Feels very written down. But I think,
I think that's just like the repetition of doing it, because that is not how we finish conversations in the real life. And that whole like being timed. And so you have to like end the conversation in general and stop like the client's flow. Like that's what you're doing when you go into the action plan. And then the accountability, like you're kind of stopping, like, okay, let's take a break. This is where we're going to end today. And then you're like moving them into those phases. So I think the more you do it and practice it, at least the actual closing part will feel more comfortable. And as you grow in a relationship with a client, they know to expect that. So it's also good for them to kind of have like, okay, these are the questions. Oh, okay, she's asking me this now. Okay, she's asking me, this now, like we're coming, to a close, winding down. But yeah, I always say like, sometimes when you move into the action plan with a client, it just kind of move into the action plan. But sometimes with your client, it does feel like you're taking a hard 90-degree turn. Like you're just like, they're like at a T junction and you're just like, or they don't want to be at a T junction, but you're making them be at a T junction and be like, okay, action plan. Well, where are we going?
Yeah.
But if we don't do that, then they're not going to have any outcome. If we don't do that, then they can't overcome obstacles. They can't build an accountability, like those things. But yes, they are not like a gut instinct that we usually have. We would never do that with a friend. Well, our lunch is coming to a close, Sally. So what I've heard you say today during lunch, anything else you'd like to add before we close our lunch? Like, that's not normal. Yeah.
What comes up for me actually by hearing this is the reason why we coach is we need to get our clients in a healthy pattern of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So if we get them, look at the issue, don't drown in the issue, close the issue with a bow, move. Habitual pattern. If we get them into that habit of how to look at things, go deep, touch, close it. Even if it's like today's session, I mean, the fear could take us another couple of, hours. So even by saying to yourself, okay, so I've uncovered something today within myself that needs more attention, but hey, I need to move into the next coaching session or the next need to go stand next to the hockey field. I realized tonight that is why we teach them also the closing and wrapping it up, because we can at any time open the box again.
Right.
But it's a gift to be able to close the box.
Yeah. And if all of us were helping each other close boxes, our society would be in a totally different, like if we really were doing that with our friends when we had lunch and with our families, and it wasn't weird or awkward, we would be in a totally different place as a society. But that sadly isn't what we're doing, right? We're not like questioning people's beliefs or asking them how that aligns or how they could better the community. Like, we're not digging into those things. So this is the place to do that, and they're paying us to do that with them.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good. So when you asked her at the beginning, what do we need to address, like to make these changes? And I understood what you meant and she wasn't clear on it. So then you readjust it. So reducing electronics, what do you need to change for that? I just thought that was a really good, question, because it ended up helping her like whittle down, was it change? Was it not change? And as she spoke and became really emotional, she was talking about Tristan, just interjecting that I hear you and I feel you. I thought was a perfect way to connect with Christine in that moment, to keep it a safe space and to know that her emotions have space and they are worth something, and we can like sit with these. This was at the end, but it's competency 5, like staying curious about the client. But I thought it was really great towards the end when you asked her what she was reading. I think that just really showed like a good curiosity about the client, that they already, like she was talking about reading. And I knew you weren't asking that out of, what does it mean by, your psychologist said this. It was truly like, I care about you. What are you reading? you know, kind of thing. So I really liked that. I thought that was really good because it would have been easy, I think, to kind of like skip over. And then it was interesting that she really, let's be honest, hasn't read Harry Potter. Like, huh? I have a lot more questions about that, Christine. And you are not going to be able to put it down. Like, it's really good writing.
It's interesting because the reason why I asked that,
mhm,
then you get down actually to the action plan to a T.
yeah.
So it's easy to say,
Mhm.
I'm going to start read. Okay, great. What
Yeah,
are we
right.
reading?
Yeah,
So it
that's
was
really
almost,
true.
I asked that so that I can find out how far is she in this action plan.
Yeah. Mhm. Good point. Yeah. Um, I thought it was really powerful when under evoking awarenesses 7.2 and you expanded on her and her ways of thinking and feeling, and when you challenged her with how do you think that your husband or your friend feels when you're talking to them and checking your phone. And that really um, brought a big awareness for her and then a change about how she was going to move forward with this. Um, Great that you were just able to say, as far as 8.5, you know, the action plan. Like I heard you say, da 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 da. It's always nice when a client does that for us, and then you can just kind of reiterate back, and then you're able to make that close a little bit tighter because they've already. I think so. One thing I would have liked to see, and I think this would have been a good question, was 8.4, just applying that new learning, where she was talking about she's only going to take her phone out if she needs it. Some sort of question, because we have so much on our phones that people might genuinely need her, or there might genuinely be things she needs to address on her phone. So it's a question around, you know, that.
Mm.
And maybe that would have taken another question to then get to what would be like the home run question, you know, like, okay, how are you going to handle if someone reaches out to you and needs your attention in the next 5 hours and it's genuine, or it's, you know, whatever, you know, and then kind
Mm.
of see that response, and then kind of, because I thought that's a really big
Mm.
thing to say, I'm just going to take it out when I need it. And maybe
Yeah.
maybe that works, right? Like maybe everything is on her computer, but you've asked her that. So I think that would have, you know, was one little area where I think interjecting a question after that would have um, just got her to think a little bit more about the phone
And
and her
it's
use.
interesting because that was a burning question. I was looking at our time. I realized
Yeah.
that I won't be able to, because I knew this is not going to be a one question,
Mm-mm.
one answer. Um,
Yeah.
and I think it was one of our first two sessions when Cheryl said, you know,
Hmm.
what's the question that you literally
Hmm.
held back because you were afraid? And I would say, in all
Yeah.
honesty, tonight this was the question. And often I
Yeah.
wanted to interrupt, and then I say, oh no, she's still busy. I can't
Yeah.
interrupt. So I just couldn't get the feel of that so
Mm-mm.
burning important question.
Yeah.
Um, because I think the question that I wanted to ask her is, okay, so you get your phone 5 hours later. There was
Hmm.
a burning need for you.
Hmm.
What now?
Yeah. And in fairness, I couldn't think of a great way to ask it either. That's why I was like, ooh, I feel like, but
Mm,
like then there'd have to be like a follow up. So, I mean, I completely hear you on that, um,
okay.
in that fear. Because like I wrote it down. I was like, I feel like we should ask her this, but then I also couldn't think of a quick question that would keep a concise answer so you could move through the rest of the session on time. Yeah.
Okay.
But overall, again, I think you did a really fabulous job with what Christine was saying and what she was offering you, and how you took those moments of time, those nuggets where you were able to ask questions or interject. I think you did a great job of interjecting. And I think at the end, no matter how awkward it feels, you did do a good job of like taking the reins from her and closing it up, like getting it to the bow on. You went through all the steps, she followed you, you know, and she went into the close. And I think, yeah, she knows that, but your clients will start to know that, right? So then they'll naturally, how we are when someone's coaching us, we just like, okay, it's time to stop. I got to wrap this up. Okay, now I need to think about this. Now I need to think about that. That's what your clients will start doing. Yeah. Any questions for me?
No.
Okay. Well, we are going to close and class. Christine, if you want to send me a link.
Just right now, I'll just shoot it in the
chat, and then I'll hit it when we're done. But yes, if you need anything from me, Rita, or whatever, I am still here for you. As far as I know, this was my last class with you all. So it's been really great getting to know you ladies, and hearing and watching your journeys. I'm excited for you guys to be out there helping others. I think you guys are going to make a really big impact on the societies that you're in. Yes.
Thank you.
So thank you. Yeah, you are welcome. You're welcome.
And enjoy this crazy part of life.
Yeah.
Getting
thanks.
married and moving and
all the things.
all the best to you as well.
Yeah, thank
If
you.
you are comfortable with that, could we maybe have your email address if we would like to reach out?
Yeah, you can do Holly M as in Michelle Davis at gmail.com.
Thank you so much.
Do you have a website?
I do. It's funny that you were telling a lady not to. I'm like, I don't use it that much as I thought I would. It is Journey. My business is Journey Well Coaching. So it's journeywellcoaching.com.
Okay.
Also journeywellcoaching@gmail.com. Any of those will all get to me. Yeah. So
thanks, lady.
Well, I hope you keep getting better, Rita. Go get a good nap, or a good night's sleep, and a good weekend.
Thank you so much. I'll send you an email, Christine.
Okay.
Okay. Good night.
Okay. Bye, guys. Okay, I will click this, and then it will send me over to you.
Okay, sounds good.